What would your 13-year-old self think of you now? I think he'd be slightly disheartened, but not entirely disappointed. I've come a long way in some regards, and in others, I fall short of what I used to be. He'd ducking hate me, but that's fine, because one of the perks of being an adult is no longer caring what 13-year-olds think. He would think I had turned into a bad person till I had a chance to sit him down. Then we would both be sad. 13-year-old me wanted to marry this one girl since he was 10 years old. That girl is now my fiancée. Honestly, I'm not too worried about what that cynical little brat would think of me. I'm pretty sure she survived solely on hatred and apple juice, so her ability to hold a positive opinion on anything is questionable. I guess she would be proud that I'm on my way of beating my eating disorder and to finally love myself after I started to hate myself since 5th grade. My 13-year-old self would be so freaking stoked at where I am in life. I have a degree in what I always wanted. I work for the Smithsonian, and I'm dating a tattooed bearded drummer. She would be proud of me for sure. You're bald and overweight. How did you get such a hot wife? My answer: charm. You little duck. 18 now. I'd be pretty happy. I'd be surprised at a couple of the friends I had to let go. Some of the new ones. But happy with my security. Wow, you gotten fat. Really, cause I was a stick growing up. And or this is not the life I envisioned for you, which I would respond back with: I am going through a lot of adversities right now, but I am staying strong and I am blessed having my 2 kids. So we are doing just fine. It was a year ago. But she would be happy / confused that I didn't kill myself. I'm happy now. I think he'd be okay with who I am. He might not fully understand, but it wouldn't be negative either. My 13-year-old self would be impressed. The depressed 13-year-old me would be proud of the way I went out of my comfort zone and did the things old me was afraid to do. I talked to that girl. I got that starting football spot. I did what I wanted to do. I'd be proud of me. Shocked into silence that I carry around a computer /TV /camcorder /cameras /Walkman /Jetsons like video phone, casually in my back pocket. I think he'd be pretty okay with it. I'm not where I thought I'd be, but I've got a decent job which could become a good career. I've been involved with sports to a very high level, further than I thought I'd ever get. Have an amazing fiancé, and still sometimes get to play video games. If that's not enough for 13-year-old me, well, he can only blame himself. I'm 25 now for reference. She would be heartbroken that we're not married to Jordan Knight, N.K.O.T.B. and super confused about my love of craft beer. The whole transgender thing would probably confuse them, but otherwise, oh boy, he'll be so devastated. Why are you so fat? Asterisk young me runs circles around old me. Points. Laughs asterisk. Too many chili dogs. I'd probably think I'm actually pretty cool. If 13-year-old me was told this is how it'll turn out, I'd be so confused for a second and not believe it. But then it changed my whole teenage experience once I realized that things do get better when you learn to love yourself. She'd be amazed and surprised and proud and shocked. A lot has changed, and I live an amazing life beyond her imagination. I do a job she'd never considered in a place she'd never heard of. I've shed a lot of ideas she felt strongly about, and developed in ways she never would have expected. I think they'd be impressed with what I've done. Also confused at the fact I chose to become a teacher. Whoa, I'm a hot sexy dude who got to bang some hot sexy dudes. Alright. I played so many Pokemon games. Adult me rules. He'd probably think, yeah, that's where I expected I'd be in 10 years. I'm in college now. That's pretty much where I knew I'd be by this time in my life. Very happy. Disappointed in the amount of money I have and the time I've wasted.
When I was 13 I was glued to my Xbox, so even if my life was a lot worse I'd still be better off. I mean, I'd be really grossed out that I'm fat. But also stoked on a few things. Maybe disappointed that I haven't finished college at 26 yet. Surprised that I'm married. But all in all I think I'd be happy about where I'm at in life. I'd certainly feel a bit better knowing that I eventually get help for my anxiety and depression and that they don't ruin my life. He would be asking for investment tips and planning to avoid my mistakes. My present self would reap the benefit of those experiences. She'd be psyched that I have a wonderful husband and 3 gorgeous babies. But she'd be horrified that I'm fat and ugly. I used to be so vain and obsessed with appearances. I'm mostly happy now. That's what matters. 1 of 4 reactions. 1. What's all that cool tech you're using? Wait. You with computers for a living? Yes, I do. 2. Why aren't you an astronomer or a physicist? That's what we wanted to be. Not a web developer, whatever that is. It's because quantum mechanics is extremely hard and I have a talent for this stuff. Plus, there's a bigger job market. 3. So we get to have a wife and kids? Awesome. Yes, it is. 4. What do you mean you gave up writing for a few decades because you got 1 form letter rejection? Are you an idiot? Yes. Yes, I am for that. I'm trying to make up for lost time though with 1 book published and more stories on the way. Honestly, it would be a mixed bag. He would be so happy to see that the future holds stability for him and his family. He would be happy to know that he finally made some lifelong friends, found his identity, and embraced being gay. Especially since he was so isolated and afraid and adrift back then. He might be sad to know he developed anxiety and depression. He might not want to hear about how lonely he is in his early 20s. Even with all of his cool and amazing friends. It might pain him to know how much grief he will come to feel over family and the struggles they have ahead. But he would definitely be proud that he overcame the struggles of his childhood that were still eating away heavily at him back then. To go on to start a fairly decent adult life. I'd love to go back and tell him to be afraid of far less than he was. To enjoy so much more than he has. And to step up and be a better brother and son than he had been. I just started working as a doctor last week. I think my 13-year-old self, after disappointing himself during some big exams he had to do when he was 12, would be quite surprised I managed to get to where I am. He didn't think very well of himself back then because of his grades. So I think he would be very heartened to see where I am now and how much potential he had in himself. Once he realized that his biggest limiting factor was himself. She'd probably be amazed I'm alive. There's quite a bit about my life she wouldn't believe, both for better and worse. But I think overall she'd mostly be proud that I made it. He'd probably wonder why I wasn't driving a Corvette to Florida every time there's a rocket launch. I wonder that, too. Sometimes. Super ducking happy that I get to be as gay and as fabulous as I want and have so many people that love me. He would be weirded out. We look exactly the same. Talk exactly the same. Have the same build. Height. Everything, yet I'm 13. She'd be kinda disappointed in my grades BC she is a little nerd. But proud of me for making more than 1 friend. Also she'd be fascinated to find out I'm bi. Since she doesn't know yet that gay people actually exist. I think about this a lot and I reckon 13-year-old me would not believe my life. I live on the other side of the world. Have come out of my shell and am not hiding from challenges and adventures. Also, I finally bought that Gwen Stefani No Doubt t-shirt 13-year-old me would have killed for. Happy to see that she's gonna be less depressed. Probably a little disappointed with where my life went. But probably also amazed at how my art has improved. He wouldn't believe that there was another Star Wars. And I don't think he would be able to comprehend my dislike of it. The same could be said for the Terminator. Wait. She came back. Thank God. I thought I would never see her again. My ex, whom I hurt at the time. We got back together in 2017. Going for 3 years strong this May. Didn't it? You're jacked.
How long am I stuck playing football for? 13-year-old me wouldn't really care about career and wife lol. My mother's husband was a physically abusive man who was a drug addict and drew my mother into it. 2. I never touched hard drugs, but I was a troublemaker in school. I started fights. And I was expelled twice. I was lonely. No other family or friends. I strictly stuck around because I thought my mother would die without me. I didn't know where to turn. And I daydreamed constantly. I was in denial of my own reality. I now have a loving husband, a 3-year-old boy, and I work with special needs / autistic and foster children. I'd be very proud and know there's hope in my future. My mother's been clean for 20 years now. Her ex-husband overdosed in 2006. She'd be amazed I'm still alive. Then she'd be pretty disappointed that I'm not really living.